Where is InsurTech headed next? This is where indie agents own the answer. Welcome to the Three Insurance podcast. Let's go. Welcome back to the Three Insurance podcast. I was on the phone with this guy for 5 minutes before we hit record, and I am already pumped. So I don't know what this podcast has to offer. I do know it's going to be amazing. But buckle up, because if 5 minutes got me this pumped, the next 55 are going to be absolutely epic. Welcome, David Foster, CEO and founder of Three Arbor Insurance. How are you, sir?
I'm wonderful, Sid.
Woo!
I'm great that I'm spending time with you. As you can see on my whiteboard for the listeners, I've got Sid is greater than everyone else.
Okay. Already in for the ego strokes. I love it, dude. Let me give one back to you. So, dude, you hopped on and everyone in the room literally went, wow, that man has beautiful hair. So I almost introduced you as like the man with perfect hair in insurance.
Well, that's honestly, for anybody who's not going to watch this, they're just going to listen. I really just look like a mega pastor from a church, from a mega, one of those mega church pastors, right? I just want you to know that is the look I'm going for, 100%. So
you pull it off well. All right. So tell me a little bit about your story of Three Arbor, because you started the company yourself, and I know we talked a little bit before about what this has meant to you, this journey of being a business owner, and to you personally. Maybe if you could share some of that with the audience, like how did you get to where you are today?
Yeah, I think I'm from a small town in Birmingham, like outside of Birmingham, Alabama, right? I think a lot of people probably can relate to me in that, and I still do. I have that giant boulder on my shoulder, right? Like the kind of Great Gatsby looking across at the light kind of thing of like, what am I missing? Like, I've got to work to get there, work harder. And so that's kind of the mindset. I'm a third generation business owner. My granddad owned a gas station. My dad owned a tow truck company. And so more blue collar, but I was exposed to that my whole life. But honestly, my story, it's really fun to think about it, because so much of my story was like, am I willing to take a risk and see myself differently? I had opportunities I was very fortunate to have some opportunities in front of me, but was I willing to take that? And, I went to the University of Alabama. They had a sales program there. And I really fell in love with the idea of sales. And I had no idea you can make an actual career out of it. And so when I got down there and did it, I got out of college and I took a sales route, right? I was in IT sales. I went and did medical device sales, which is supposed to be everything in life when you go to medical sales, right? You're supposed to be the most rich, happy person ever. And that didn't happen for me. It just wasn't for me. I think other people figure it out, but I did not. I was, money was good and all, but like I was miserable. And someone told me, they said, David, you would be great at commercial insurance. And sure enough, that person was right. Like I have so much fun doing this. And so I got the opportunity in 2016 to start at an agency that was brand new, about a year old, but it had a proven kind of industry leader in it. And so I saw firsthand how much fun it was to build something. And then I saw firsthand that I couldn't even spell insurance. Yeah, here I was closing deals. Like all I had to do was be resourceful, answer the phone. I'm sure we'll get into some of that later, but these are things that I'm really passionate about, like response, transparency. And so I wasn't even there 2 years, and I was like, how to do this. And I can't, like, I tell people all the time, this is one of the things that it's hard to relate sometimes, because a lot of people, risk scares them. There are certain things that scare me. I'm probably not the first person that's going to go jump off the rock into the lake, right? Like, but you can't peer pressure me, to be clear. But when it comes to business, like it was just, to me, I was like, oh, this is so simple. Like we're going to take this risk. And I told myself I had 3 years to cash flow. We cashed here we are. We just hit our 5 year at Three Arbor. So
Woo!
Three Arbor's based, I know, it's based out of Birmingham. We've got an office in Atlanta.
Congrats.
And we are very fortunate. I think 99% of our premium, just to give the listeners a little bit of an idea, context, like, is commercial, 1% is personal. So like we do just very little personal lines. We do all commercial. And then we have some verticals that we like to stay in. And we just feel like if we can stay in those verticals, we can compete against shops that are a lot bigger than ours, a lot more resources, because we're bringing more of a knowledge component. And that has really paid off for us the more we stay in those verticals. And so here I am, like, I'm having the time of my life. And I think I told this on another pod one time, but like, I'm not your trust fund kid. Like, I'm really not. Like everybody's always like, well, there's always a catch. Well, my story, there isn't a catch. Like, I met someone who was willing to wanted to invest into a business. I was going to start a business. And at the end of the day, it's just like going to a bank, right? Like, I was able to take someone else's money, capitalize, pay them back, and grow a business. I mean, and for me, it was just, that's what it is. And I think a lot of people, like, they're always looking for like, oh, what's the catch? And I'm like, there is none in this story. Truly. I'm the first one to tell people I'm lucky.
Yeah.
But I take luck and try to compound it, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's where we're at right now is 5 years in, and I sit in Birmingham, and we're having a lot of fun.
Man, kudos to you. That's amazing. Yeah. That's an amazing story to be able to build something from nothing, create something from nothing like that. Granted, with a little assist and help, but you paid them back and made it whole, and that's not something a lot of people can say. So kudos to you.
Well, I mean, no, and a lot of people in our industry, it's sad. A lot of people start agencies and they don't have any capital.
Yeah.
So that's why they die, because they can't even put food on the table. I mean, we're only getting 10 to 15 points of the premium. And so it's really hard, unless you have a bunch of money you're sitting on, to start one without some kind of capital injection. So if you're out there like listening, like, you're not cheating or doing something wrong by it, go to the bank, go to an investor, go to a family office, like, leverage other people's money to make money. Like,
yeah, 100%. Okay, so 5 years in, and it feels like you're still just getting started. And when you hopped on, we started, we started talking. There's that mega church pastor. That's what I'm saying.
There it is.
So it sounded like legacy for right now, where you're at in your just sort of professional, personal journey, is something that's top of mind for you. Something that's kind of your soul is wrestling with, and you're kind of trying to, make sense of. What are your thoughts on legacy? Like, does it matter? Is it something that I think a lot of people get into business because they say, I want to leave a legacy for my kids, my grandkids, the world to know my name, make my mark, which is kind of an American thing, to be honest. So it's interesting. But what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is where we need to issue a trigger warning for this episode.
Okay. Issued.
Issue trigger warning. To take all your emails to Sydney, not me. I will not respond.
Notice I haven't given my email yet. So
yeah, that's right. Yeah, I think it's interesting. Like, my story is rooted in good, hardworking men that paved a path for me. My grandfather didn't know his parents. He was adopted, and he went and fought in the war. He fought really hard to build a business. He was able to provide for a family. He helped my dad start the record business. I watched my dad firsthand. But this idea of legacy for me is interesting because, and a lot of it is tied to my dad. So when I was 19, my dad passed away from cancer when I was in college. Okay. So I watched this man, have everything. And my mom's incredible. He had an incredible wife. He had 3 sons, grew this business up, right? And the American dream, truly. And yeah, he was 51 and dead. So there's two parts that I can like speak to when it comes to legacy that I think, I don't care if you own an agency, if you're a leader in an agency, I don't care if you are an account manager at an agency but you go home, you got a family, you're a leader in the community. I don't care. Do not care where you're at. I think this applies to everything. But it's like we become so obsessed with the idea of leaving our mark and things behind us. And I think it's foolish. And there's no way to say it. I'm not here to say listen, you want to make a bunch of money, leave your kids some money or make their life better. That's do you, and maybe it works out. Okay. My whole point and where I'm coming at is that my dad did everything right and he didn't get to enjoy it at all. He didn't get to enjoy the retirement. He didn't get to enjoy me. He didn't see me get married. He didn't see my kids. All for what? And some people would say, well, your dad left you a legacy of hard work and showed you how to do things. I would argue that honestly, his death is more of a legacy than anything because it showed me real life and a lot of really cool things that molded me into the man I am today. But I'm not taking away the fact that my dad showed me all these amazing things. I'm not taking away that. I see it. I'm thankful for it. I'm acknowledging, though, that those things are fleeting because I'm going to try and then tell my son, who's going to hopefully tell his kids, if he has them, what my dad told me. Well, by the time it's getting down to those generations, we're playing the game of telephone at that point. Go to your history books. We're learning about people in elementary school. And then by the time you become an adult, you're like, wait, you told me so-and-so did blank? What? It's because we're only putting in these very subjective things. I think legacy can be subjective because it can be around, did someone buy their legacy by putting their names on buildings and doing things in the community with all their money? And so all these people think they're amazing, but what did their home life look like? I think there's some people that with great home lives and not great work lives because they're different people. I think this person could like somebody and this person could not. And I just think ultimately it's foolish because I think legacy starts having us operate in the future way too much. And we're all just worried about leaving something behind. And I'm waking up with this mindset of gratitude where I'm like, whoa, today, this morning, I go on walks in the morning. We call them hot girl walks in my house.
Did you say hot girl walks?
Hot girl walks. Okay. Yep, little hot girl walk. You know what I'm saying? I'm just I love it. Hips are swinging in the neighborhood, right?
Yep.
I've got a weighted vest. I'm about to get some probably ankle weights. I am walking, right? Bam, bam, bam. And it was so funny. Yesterday, I went up my 7-year-old daughter, went up to her school, and this little boy came up to me and said, hey, my daughter's name's Wilder, said, Wilder said you go on hot girl walks. And I'm like, yeah, you better believe I did. Anyways, but this morning, I'm on my hot girl walk this morning, and it was a light rain this morning, and I put my jacket on, put the hood up, put the pot in, and I was going, and I was just so thankful to be breathing. I was so thankful to feel the rain, to see the views, to have a moment. It was so nice to just be so present. And as someone who's entrepreneurial and always building and always looking ahead, that's hard. It's hard for me. But what I've learned is that I can't control everything. I just can't. And that's where legacy is funny to me because I can't control everything.
Yeah. And
ultimately, if people talk about me when I'm dead or there's buildings after me, cool, whatever. I truly am just trying to live in these moments, trying to be who I say I am in the day-to-day moments. And I think it's beautiful when we're able to live that. We don't have to have any regret of the past or any fear of the future kind of deal. I've heard that, and I think it's true. And I'm really happy to be here. And there's so many people that are going to disagree with that mindset because they're going to be like, no, leave a legacy for your kids. Your kids will talk about how amazing you are for generations to come. Your actions make a direct impact on their life. Well, they do and they don't. Come on. I could get real personal. I could get real personal with you, Sid, and your story. I get real personal with my family story. Like everybody listening, like you don't have to be that smart to take a step back and realize that nature and nurture are at play here.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
mm-hmm.
It just is.
Mm-hmm.
And like I'm one of three brothers. My mom, I mean, she raised us all the same, an incredible mom.
Mm-hmm.
My dad raised us all the same. Like they were a unit. Me and we're all three very different. I mean, very different. And I just think like I don't want to get even more of a hot take and get canceled, but I even think we start teetering on the lines of narcissism if we think we have so much control over our kids and people's lives.
I think that's I love that you brought it back to the idea of like control. And I would use a different term, same term, but different term in talking about legacy. Because as you were talking, I was like, man, what really is the root of this at the end of the day, right? And I think it all comes back to this idea of free will. Like, how much control do you have every day? Is there a like the Greek mythology obviously said there's these sisters that spin this thread of yarn, and then they're it's fate, right? This idea of like your life is a tapestry that's already been sewn for you. I think Christianity believes in this idea of like God, and there's a higher power that is sort of writing your narrative for you. But then if you take that to the extreme, then like what's the point of making a decision every day? Why even get up, right? So there has to be some free will, but is there also this sort of like interjection from a higher power that maybe steers, right? It's this balance, and and I think at the end of the day, like that really to me answers part of that question of legacy and how much control you even have of steering the world in a certain way, or steering.
You're down. I mean, so what I've been talking to people about recently is like, you can grip harder and control more and try, and or you can go really to the other extreme and be more like, you can just be apathetic. I can speak a lot more to Christianity than other stuff, but like I think what I see in Christianity all across the board is you do have some people that are very apathetic. That they're just like, doesn't matter, right? Like, I can do nothing. And then you have some that are like, no, like, I can make a difference, right? I think for anybody listening, I don't care what you believe. I think it's a good challenge for you to step back, ask yourself, is it a religion? Is it not a religion? But whatever it is, when we start talking about these things, to really ask yourself what it is you believe. What's dangerous, and this is where faith can be very powerful for people, is that like, if you don't believe in anything at all, and your mindset's like, if you're my dad, for example, like, and that's your mindset, and then here you are dead at 51, like, that's a pretty fleeting life, and that was not your plan, period. Like, it's no one's plan to get cancer, right? And so the more control we put, in my opinion, the more control we put in our hands, the more we experience humility, because nothing ever works out.
Yeah.
And so to your point of like, what is that why? Like, what is that thing? I think that's why we have to be really careful when we get in these beautiful conversations. Like the grass grows in my front yard, and I have to cut the grass, even though it doesn't. Like, could I just let it go, and in the wintertime it's going to die, or I don't care what anybody thinks, whatever. But for some reason, I cut the grass every 1 to 2 weeks, but it's going to come back, and then I'm going to do it again. And it's kind of like, why, right? Well, I personally think there's like something beautiful about when these priorities and these things are aligned, that it kind of pushes and motivates you to then go and work, because that work is coming from this like really healthy place. For me, when I'm in the most healthy place, when my identity is not my work, it is my work is actually better. It's counterintuitive. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
Like, Like I can leave the office and not have to worry about emails. Like
Mm-hmm.
I can be so productive in the day and stuff because I just know ultimately like this could be gone tomorrow, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And like I think there was some gasoline put on the fire here at Three Arbor for me in this year because my top producer at Three Arbor has been out 2.5 months now for pancreatitis,
Oh man.
and it turned real bad, like real bad pancreatitis. He was
Oof.
in the hospital for almost 6 weeks. He's been in recovery. He still has two drains. He lost 35 pounds. He can't gain weight.
Oh my gosh.
And he hasn't been able to produce. He's
Yep.
my top producer.
Yep.
Like, where's that in the budget,
Mm-hmm.
right? Where is that in the plans? Like, this is when I get to like, I go extreme and use the word narcissistic because I use it to make a point, but like, it's like I spent hours on that budget. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, hours upon hours planning this year,
Mm-hmm.
and it will not be what we planned. It just
Mm-hmm.
won't be
Mm-hmm.
because there's so many things that are uncontrollable. And so that's where I'm like, when you have these examples in life, that's where I get to of like, well, if so many things are uncontrollable, like, and then we're like, got this plan to like go push some legacy idea for like,
Mm.
what happens when something doesn't happen that way? Does that mean you failed?
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, it doesn't. And so for me, I think the takeaway on this legacy topic for anyone listening is like, all I'm asking people to do is just to be where your feet. That's our theme here at Three Arbor for 2023 is be where your feet are.
Mm.
And like all I'm asking people here in my life always is, can you just be present?
Mm.
Can you just be in this moment? Do the things you love to do, have a good attitude, whatever you need to say, whatever things on your grandmother's pillow, whatever. But like be there and enjoy it.
Yeah.
The future will take care of itself. And what happens a lot of times is like whatever you're doing now impacts the future anyways, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
But I just don't want to be caught up on that because of how much is uncontrollable. And I just think it's silly. And I could go through hundreds of examples,
Yeah.
right? Like, oh, you made millions of dollars and you left all this money to your kids and now you're gone and what a legacy, but all your kids suck.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
You know, like
Mm-hmm.
what's the legacy? That
I
you worked really hard, but now we've got three kids that don't know how to manage money or making bad decisions.
yeah.
And I know I'm speaking in generalities, but like we all know people with similar stories like that. And so
Yeah.
once again, I think I'm pushing people to be more present.
Yeah. I recently read this book. It's called When Things Fall Apart by and I'm going to pronounce her name wrong, but Pema Chodron. And she wrote the book after her husband came to her and basically said that he was having an affair. And that's a life crisis. They got a divorce. She ended up actually going over to be in a Buddhist monastery for like 3 years and studying under this Buddhist monk and learned about mindfulness and being present. And I think ultimately came to terms with the fact that there were things going on in the relationship that weren't addressed, and she wasn't as present. Not that that's any reason for someone to do what they did, right?
Yeah.
Not at all. That's not an excuse. But I think we boil things down too simply sometimes. And there was a complexity there that she started to recognize. One of the stories, though, she told in this book as she was going through this journey was about this was a family that she met at the Buddhist monastery, and their young son had broken his leg badly. They didn't think that he was going to make it. They lived in Africa at the time, and something like that happens. You immediately think, "Oh my gosh, this sucks, right? This is terrible. This is not good. This is not how the plan was supposed to go. He was going to go off to get a job. He was going to go off to college. He had a future, and now we're having to deal with the possibility of him not walking again." 2 weeks later, there was a war that broke out in that region, and the military came through and started taking the sons basically away from the family so that they could support this war. that young man did not actually go to war because of the leg that had been broken. And he did end up recovering. It took a little longer than they had wanted, but because of the timing of the break, he ended up being able to avoid going to war and avoid the travesty that comes with being a part of that type of experience. So it's interesting because you say, you know, I worry, like, man, what if people say my kids suck if I spend all this time on legacy? I also think there's a little bit of, you know, we're very short-sighted as humans. It's why history is written down. I mean, if I tried to tell you what I did 2 weeks ago on Tuesday at, 9:36, good luck. I don't think I could tell you.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes we see things in these little, out of our own perception, right? And the world's a lot bigger than that. And there are things that are happening that we don't understand. Maybe your kid is bad at budgeting, but maybe that's not a bad thing right now, right? Maybe there's a reason for that you don't quite understand yet, and it's going to make sense in time.
Yeah, but like, really, like, you're in my brain right now, like, you're like actually like coming alongside of me even more so what I'm getting at, of like, oh, I just worked so hard to leave all this money and things behind, and then my point is, like, you have no, like, you're gone. Mm-hmm. And like, then you have nature and nurture. To your exact point, times change. That kid that was born at this time, they were born 100 years before, they could have been a different person because of the time, things around them, right? Mm-hmm. And it's like, yeah, at that point, that kid, what we would consider in 2023 as someone who sucks, maybe in 2073 or whatever, like, they're amazing, right? Mm-hmm. Once again, we're talking about super uncontrollable things, and I love where you're taking it. Like, it is much more complex, it's much more bigger. And for me, because of all that, I do simplify it personally, because I recognize it. And because I recognize how complex and big, uncontrollable, it produces humility in me. Like, and I'm thankful for that humility. I don't want to have that kind of control and responsibility because I know who I am. Like, and I just think we, and not to turn this into full counseling, but
we started with Megachurch pastor hair, so we gotta end there. Let's go. I sit here and I'm like the first one to tell you, like, so much of my thinking is tied to trauma that I've had. Mm-hmm. You don't think I'm not aware of that? Mm-hmm. Like, that's my story. Like, and so someone who maybe hasn't experienced that is going to look at it differently. Mm-hmm. While I might disagree with their logic or thought processes, like, I think it's healthy to agree and disagree with people. Like, I really wish we would disagree more in this world, actually, but I want people to think however they want to think. I just want them to honestly hear a different point of view, because what I've seen, the more agency owners and leaders that I talk to out there, they're just being fed a lot of stuff that is creating pressure that is not necessary. And it just breaks my heart. Like, I'm like, yo, that is not necessary. Yeah. Like, it is not. You do not have to have that standard or that word or that expectation put on you. Who is putting that on you? Why? Yeah. Like, a lot of times our problems in life, like, whatever they're coming at us, that's actually really not even the problem. Like, a lot of times when I talk to somebody and they might be struggling with alcohol, maybe whatever it might be, a lot of times you follow that root down and you realize, like, oh, that's why. And I don't think we're doing a good job of peeling those layers back and getting down to the root enough of just asking ourselves why, because we're just too busy catching up with what we think is right and getting these quick dopamine hits and just following wherever we need to. Yep. And so it's like, when we're present and slow down and we ask ourselves these things, we can really uncover a little bit more of, like, who we are and why. And when you start dialing in that why, that's where it's powerful. For me, when I started dialing that in years ago, and here I am now, and I'm still on this journey, it just allowed me to have a lot more freedom in this job, right? That doesn't mean I don't have ups and downs. There was moments last year, if you talk to people at Three Arbor, they were worried
that I was going to probably quit because I put so much pressure on myself to do certain things. I was like, just can we get there? Can we get there? And I get caught up on it. It feels like a tennis match at times, right? So it's a journey.
Yep.
I don't have it figured out by no means, but I'm in a great space with it now.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like it, man. So you brought
Yeah.
up this idea of like urgency and pressure and really sometimes the tendency to make decisions out of that space. I think sometimes that happens with technology too, or
Yeah.
even just where do you take your business next year? How do you make that plan? We come from this. Well, I don't want this to happen, so I'm going to do this. Or I feel like everybody else is getting this solution, so I'm going to do that. How, as you were, I mean, you're building Three Arbor from the ground up. You can really make it what you want, which is an amazing place to be. Not everybody has that opportunity. They're kind of stuck with a lot more baggage, I would say, other decisions that have been made in the past, and that change management's tough. How have you thought about the type of insurance agency that you want to build? Like, what has that looked like in this digital era?
Yeah, that's a great question. And you nailed it on the head. I mean, we always describe ourselves as a speedboat compared to a lot of people because we have the ability to make quick turns. And really it's attributed to, a lot of times people are impressed with how much we've written premium we have over 5 years, but a lot of it's because of that. Like, because we're able to be so nimble and do that, like, I don't feel like we get bogged down by a lot of the, things that were before us in an agency that people do. I have a few thoughts, and it's funny because I just got back from Kentucky, where you were so kind to refer me.
Awesome.
Yes.
Great.
And we had so much fun. And I talked to so many people there, and there was some of these conversations were going on, right, of technology and how to use that, and like, because what I'm seeing a lot of is, everybody's using this, we're going to get it, we don't really know how to use it, we're going to halfway use it, and then it causes more pain, right? And so all the way back, some things we did at Three Arbor at the foundational level that I truly think is part of the reasons why we made some of the technology decisions that we've made. But like going back to our color scheme, for example, we use a lot of black, white. Well, that whole idea around that was to be a service-minded group, like a butler, right? And where in insurance, you see a whole lot of red and blue, blue being calming, red being a little bit more aggressive, right? And so for us, we took a little bit more of the service color, like, we're like, hey, this is going to be looking a little more financial services almost, but it's going to be more of that. We want that butler because we were going to, like, how we felt like we had to win was service, because I don't have the brand, the logo, the premium that a lot of my competitors have. So that has nothing to do with technology. It's the foundation of the agency. So when you start building on that mindset, our 3 core values, I talk about, so I'm blue in the face all the time. There's nothing revolutionary about them. They're just were my personal core values in my life that I allowed that transfer to the business: relationships, response, transparency. What we do with those is relationships. I don't care. It's not just an internal or an external thing. I think a lot of people make it one way or the other. It's everything from client, employee, wholesaler, vendor. We know you. Like, I'm such a relationship person that I'm a big believer in that. So when we're picking technology, we want to make sure, like, how is this bettering our relationships, right? Like, that is a question we ask when we look at a piece of technology. How does it better our relationships? Response, like, I will go toe to toe with anyone in this country. You can email me and I will answer. Like, if you are a client or a prospect or someone that needs something important, like, if it's high priority, we believe in quick response, period. We have won so much business and have gained trust from people by simply responding to emails fast. And I will tell this story. It's like, I'll tell anybody who'll listen. It's truly one of the best things we've ever done. If you go in my iPhone and type, thank you for a quick reply, thank you for a quick response into my search, you will be astonished at how many things show up saying that. That has nothing to do about insurance. Nothing. Anybody could do that, right? And so when we look at technology, we're saying, how do we respond better, more efficient, right? How does it apply there? And then transparency. I mean, this is like, you can't already tell on this podcast we're doing. Like, I love to be transparent. Like, I think it's so healthy. I think more people should be doing it. Like, we shouldn't be scared just to admit when we're wrong, when we fell, where we're struggling. Like, there's a lot of people out there that, especially in our friend circles out there, that like, I'm constantly hitting them up. Like, I don't care. I don't care how big I get. Like, let me, like, I want to learn, right? And so transparency is big. And so we ask ourselves when picking technology, like, how's this going to allow us to be better at transparency? And if we can at least have an answer for all three, or at least two, and feel good, we can commit to a technology, right? And for us, I mean, we use a lot of different technologies, but like, the tech stack journey is like ongoing. And it's annoying. It's frustrating, like, because you, like, nothing ever works like together, and like there's all this customization, and it's like you can get it to do 9 out of 10 things that you want to do and all that. But we have tried to not chase the shiny object too much. Now, some people might laugh because like we've got a whole bunch of like software and tech that you've heard of, but our rule, and everybody knows this at Three Arbor, because I truly don't get annoyed at much in life, but anything that sits on the shelf is like, it's like one of those things that like, I don't care how much the money is, it just bothers me out of principle. And so if we sign up for something, I'd get everybody on the team involved that's going to be using it. It's a group decision. As long as I'm good with the budget, it's a group decision on practicality. And then it's implemented into our workflow. I'll give a shout out to Loss Runs Pro. It's a great example. So it's a great example. Like, the price point was easy for a decision, but like, are we going to use it? Well, now in our workflow, every renewal, every new business, it's used every time. And it's so great. Like, but now it is like, there's no like, are we using Loss Runs? No, it is a part of the workflow. And it's been this like really cool piece of technology for the team. And so that's a big thing, Sid, like for me, like, because what I've seen, and I think a lot of people listening I know they're in this position, they feel numb. They don't, like, I get a lot of DMs around what agency management system should I use? Hey, to use a CRM. And I honestly, I have a lot of empathy for people that are starting their own agencies or taking over ones, and like they're just struggling on those decisions. Like, because for me, it's like I've always been able to make those decisions a little quicker. Because for me, I've always been much more of a salesperson, and like, hey, I'd rather have problems with a bunch of customers on the books than problems with none. Because let me tell you something. Go build your perfect little technology stack and workflow, and then go get your first 10 clients, and it ain't gonna work. So I'd rather be simultaneously going to get the clients, figuring out as we go, because the only way to figure out your tech stack is to have clients. Period.
Sometimes you gotta jump out of the airplane without a parachute. I'm with you.
Yeah. And if you're transparent, something messes up. So all you gotta do is, you'll be shocked when you're actually honest with other humans, when other humans go, wow, thank you for being honest. Like, no big deal. Let me know when it's fixed. It's counterintuitive, but it's true. And so the core values are big for us. Like in deciding technologies, we try not to just chase the tiny shiny objects, because like that can be really easy to do. I think personally in my seat, the hardest thing I have, as like I shared earlier, we've got 13 employees, about to go on 14. We're hovering somewhere around 220 grand per employee, revenue metric. And like, it's really hard for me to like, I feel like the only thing that would make me happy in my brain sometimes is to have some big customized AMS CRM, like, where it's like, it does everything I want. But I know the reality is that that's also going to be painful and hard and its own set of challenges. And so I've learned a lot about patience. Like, um, and really, and the people are going to think I'm just saying this because I'm on a vertical podcast, but that's fine. Yeah, we use AMS 360, we use Agency Zoom, Reference Connect. Part of my why we went with AMS 360 was we understood the strengths and weaknesses of it, and we were willing to accept some of that. And then we did see, whether it might not be fast enough for some, we did see improvement over time. And then on Agency Zoom, to be honest, we're probably too big for it a lot of times, what we're trying to do. But then there's just some really cool things that it does that we're oh, that's worth it. It just is. And so you have to get really good at I hate using the word settling because it sounds negative, but you really do. You have to get good at hey, I'll take that because I'm getting that. I don't know if that makes sense, but for those out there that are and it can be, listen, I ain't gonna call none of my buddies out, all these LinkedIn celebrities, but there's a lot of people that read their content and they get super insecure and they get super down on themselves because they think they ain't got it figured out. Newsflash, they don't either. Okay. They are also in the trenches working it out. The difference is a lot of those people that I'm talking about they'll take risks, they'll try anything, and good. But for a lot of people that are taking in that content, they're oh my God, how did they make all this work together? I'm they're still trying to figure it out every day. It's a huge lie in our industry right now that because of marketing, no offense, that people have got it figured out. And I think we've got to start meeting people where they're at going, hey, we're all on this journey together. Let's just get better. I would appreciate seeing that more from the industry.
Listen, I'm with you 100%, and I'm not here for shiny object marketing. I like to get down to the root, the why, as you call it. Let me get down to that with automation, because you mentioned that response and transparency were two things that were key decision makers for you. So automation's a tricky thing. I think on the one hand, people hear, and when I talk about automation, I'm talking about automated automated communication. So emails, text messages that go out, as well as automated tasks. So here's what to do next, sort of thing, without having to think about it. When does it cross the line of too much automation? I mean, you seem like a guy that really cares about the relationship, wants to make sure that the human connection is there. When does it cross that line for you?
Yeah, I've got an answer.
I'm using you as a barometer because I feel like whatever you say is probably the right line in the sand here, dude.
Well, yeah, that's right. So in terms of automated tasks for your team, I'm here for it all day. We've got a labor problem in insurance when it comes to our service team. And I can find talented people that have the right DNA for these jobs. The best way that I can try to get them working to be a part of the team and be useful and valuable, the more step-by-step I have. And if it's sitting there in their agency's Zoom dashboard says, you need to do this task today, they have a higher chance of success if they've never been in the industry or they're still learning. So I'm all about automated tasks as a reminder of our workflow because I'm a huge believer in rinse and repeat. And rinse, repeat, you'll become really good at it. And then that shows. So I'm okay with that all day long. I do think you need to have some audits time from time to make sure that we don't have tasks that could be combined into other tasks and just to be intentional about that. But when it comes to outbound automation, I have never once received an outbound text or email ever for anything I do that has made me think that it was a real human checking on me. I'm just being honest, okay? I understand the logic, and because I don't do personal lines, there's going to be a lot of people disagree with me. Like, because if you're heavy personal lines, I get it. Like, you're trying to like high volume, touch points. Like, I get all the logic. I truly do. Like, you're just trying to stay in their minds, right? Like a touch here, a touch there. And I'm sure there's some good data that backs it up. But I think maybe I don't. I think I represent like a normal person in this country in a lot of ways. And like I stayed at a Holiday Inn in Kentucky, and I got to my hotel room, but by the time I checked in, right? And like I checked in, by that time I had a text, hey David, this is Emily. Does your room look okay? But like you could just read the text and know that it was sent from a computer. And like some people are going to go, well, yeah, but like, isn't that nice that they checked in? And I'm like, I guess. For me, it like really doesn't do nothing. It's just kind of like a meh, whatever. Because if I have a problem in my room, I'm not texting them back. I'm picking up the phone or I'm walking back down, right? And so because I'm so relational and because I'm so like high touch service butler type model, like I just think there needs to be human. Like I just believe it in my gut that it needs to be human. Because we even see we see it like with some of our technology that we use where maybe there needs to be a signature or something, a part of this like workflow. We'll get calls and emails, people going, hey, is this you? Is this serious? Like, do we need to sign this? Like, people doubt that stuff. And so if you're coming at it solely from hey, we're just trying to get our brand out there in their brain and the zeitgeist, whatever. Like, sure. Like, I guess if that's the strategy, that's the strategy. But I just don't know anyone who's like gotten that text and maybe besides like my mother who's 65.
Yeah.
I just like versus the person who emails me or texts me or calls me. Yeah. Hey, or sends me a letter in the mail, or hey, just checking in. Like, this was so great. I'm glad we're working together. Like, and knowing that I have that person. I don't know. That's just my thing. And how do you do that in personal lines? I have no idea. I do know some people that are doing more of that and having success, but I understand it's a lot harder when you're trying more of a volume play versus like the commercial world where it's not as much of a volume play. But Three Arbor, it's going to take a lot for Three Arbor to ever do automated messaging out or automated response.
How do you find efficiency then? Like, where do you look for efficiency in the business if it's not through?
Yeah, I'll tell you right now, and I'm going to do 2 plugs here.
Okay.
And I'm if you need to bleep their names out, that's fine.
Okay.
Okay. First, ModelBox. So I couldn't be a bigger fan of this company. When we started thinking through our journey with virtual assistants and third parties and stuff, I was a little nervous around VAs because I didn't want to get attached to someone. That was like my biggest worry, was that like that individual would become ingrained into our like culture and then they're gone. And ModelBox's like whole model was this like team approach. It could be a number of different people doing it, but as long as everything's documented and stuff, and we take documentation super seriously in terms of like steps. And so we started ModelBox last maybe Q3, and we're finally, we've been fighting hard to get 40 hours with them because they crush. They have, on our renewal process, they have completely taken over our whole front end renewal process, where they're taking all our apps, getting the renewal ready, taking all the accords, everything, loading to our digital application software, like getting it all ready so that our team can then take it and go work with the client, right? So could not be a bigger fan of ModelBox. And to be honest, as soon as we hit 40, like if we get which should be here the next month or so, like we're going to just pay overtime for them until then. Instead of hiring another person, I'm going to hire another 40 at ModelBox, and to try to get as much of the back end. They've been doing quoting for us. So like in the price point, just like, and I could make a whole speech on like EBITDA and like why that's a good from a just like a money standpoint, but just from an efficiency standpoint, like once again, we have documented workflows. So now when my producer puts their lead in Agency Zoom and it hits that column, ModelBox gets a task to take all that information, put it into AMS 360, get Accords, put it into SharePoint, and then the team can take everything out and go to market. And it has created, it is so awesome. Like it, and then my another plug that like I need to be very transparent because like I'm on the advisory council for Ascend. So you can like disregard everything I say because of that role. However, it truly, we tracked it. Ascend saved us 20%.
Wow.
8 hours
Wow.
on our controllers. 8 hours a week.
Wow. That's insane.
Like I'm not making that up. Like I'm truly not making that up because like what people, and some of this is because of our size and where we were headed and but like what people like when you are having to invoice, collect, pay wholesalers, pay carriers, do all that, and you're having to go to different portals, different places and having to reconcile, it takes more time than you think. Like a lot of people in these leadership roles, they don't understand how much time that's taking. We go to Ascend, now we don't have to go get that third-party finance agreement. It's all right there. We manage the dashboard. We can pay all our people from there. We can see progress. We can set automated follow-ups for billing, right? Where it's like, hey, just a reminder, your bill's due. Our AR has never been better in the 5 years. True, I'm not like, it's like blew my mind last year that where we used to be, and it'd be 60, 90 days out, waiting on money still, followed up now. Like it's rare for us to even get close to 60. We're always third year in. Like it's crazy how much our AR is better. And then how my controller now has all that time to do other things. Wow. And we've got to avoid having to bring on a part-time because of that. And so like Ascend, like, and like there's competitors of Ascend, if you don't like Ascend, that have some similar offerings, like, whoa, like we trusted technology and it worked. Guess what? Did it mess up at times? You better believe it did, just like humans mess up at times. Okay? Like no different. And you learn, people want to blame technology, but it's like the same thing. And so like those are two really like good examples of efficiencies. And then the like of technology efficiencies, and then like a more human efficiency that we do at Three Arbor is our service model. You know, the size that we're at, a lot of people use like, here's your, whatever you call them, account manager, CSR, account executive, whatever. And then like that person works with a producer, maybe two, and they do everything, right? I mean, they're doing new business renewals. We don't do that here. Producer gets an account, they're going to work on it, goes in our agency Zoom. And then we have somebody who's over new business that gets in there, takes it. And if we bind it, they set up the master cert, everything's ready to go. And then that flips over to now the producer stays on the account, but we have what we call a reactive team, our client experience managers, who they do all the servicing for 12 months. Certificates, endorsements, questions, they're there. When the renewal comes back out, we have a renewal pipeline at Agency Zoom, 120 days out, we get notified. And then Emily on our team does all that. So renewal, her pipeline, boom, hits hers. She starts the renewal process. She didn't do the new business. She didn't do the servicing. All she focuses on the renewal. So now what we're doing is rinse and repeat. This is what the larger agencies do. They have teams of people who do certain things over and over again. And we've got to figure out how to do that at smaller agencies. Not only can you scale better, but you can compete better. And so when you lose that employee who is tired of working for you and your producer's like depressed because they knew everything about them, we have eliminated every producer has their own way of doing it. We've eliminated it. No, we have one way of doing it. One way, period. And then the task, if we lose somebody, yeah, we might have to train somebody a little bit, but guess what? When they show up at work, in their dashboard, it says what you're doing today. Like, so we're trying to take that pressure off, right?
Yep.
Does that make sense?
One last question for you, man. Would you be willing to come on, and for those interested, which I can tell you right now, there's going to be a lot of people interested, share how that service model works and maybe walk through a little bit of the ModelBox integration and Ascend integration and
we've got it all. Like, I've got documents that I'm not sharing with people either, but like just like what it looks like, what the workflow, who does what, like it really makes a lot of sense.
All right. Well, for those of you guys listening, stay tuned. We'll take you on a deep dive. So just look out for the emails that'll be coming your way. Man, thank you so much for coming on. You're amazing. And it's your story, what you've built, how you're thinking outside the box with Three Arbor, how, you're changing things up constantly for the better. It's people like you are leading the independent channel into the next generation. So even though I'm sure it doesn't feel like that on a daily basis, it's true.
It doesn't at all. But I can tell you this, I'm having a whole lot of fun.
Heck yeah. Yeah, that's right. We're not talking legacy. We're just talking today. So
that's right. I'm just having so much fun, Sid. And, please tag me. All the legacy people, just come at me. Let's have some fun debate, and we'll be good. But this is what this is for. So you're doing a good job. You're getting out there, getting people's stories out there. We need to be learning, communicating, figuring this out. It's a big industry. It's a lot of fun. As I told the people in Kentucky, there's fewer and fewer people who have pleats in their pants in this industry now, and we've got to lean in to the youth. Of this energy, whether it doesn't really matter about age, but the youthful energy that does exist, and that's going to be the catalyst to catch up with other industries. So thank you for the platform.
Love what you heard? Listen, don't stop here. We know you don't want to. Hit subscribe on your favorite podcast platform or YouTube if you love watching, and get notified as soon as new episodes come out weekly. Let's go.